Hey Sydney, good to see you again.
Hi, good to see you too.
How have you been since we last saw you?
Pretty good, busy, but doing good.
So, this is our second session, and in our first session was mostly invasive questions and me asking you about everything that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
Today's going to work a little differently. This is just about getting to know where you're at and what you're hoping for. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about what first made you decide to come in?
Yeah, so I've had some trouble with anxiety and depression in the past, but, and I had it under control for a long time. I was taking medication, and I had stopped going to therapy a few years ago because I just felt like I didn't need it at the time. But my anxiety has really been getting in the way of my schoolwork and my relationships again, so I thought I would come back and start talking to somebody.
So this is something that you've had experience with before,
Yeah.
and you found therapy and medication helpful previously?
Yeah, I had tried a few therapists, and finally I found one that I worked well with. And then I moved, so I mainly stopped seeing her because of that, but I never really picked up another one once I moved, just because I didn't feel like I needed it at the time. And then I've been on the same medication for a few years, and I think it has been working pretty well up until recently.
So what's changed recently?
I don't know. I mean, I'm about to graduate, and I'll be moving to a new city, starting a job. I don't know if that's what the triggering event's been or what's happening, but I mean, that's the only thing. I've just been pretty busy and stressed.
Those are all great big life changes. I can
Yeah.
see how they could stress you out, but they're all amazing
Yeah.
changes, exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about them, and it's kind of hard. The anxiety's getting in the way of.
Can you
feelings.
separate those? What part of it is I'm excited and what part of it is
Yeah,
dread?
I mean, I feel like my anxiety isn't even about the new job or moving or anything. It's mostly surrounding, again, my relationships and when I'm at my field placement or something, I would get stressed about if I'm doing my job well or whatever that is. So it's not even really surrounding the fact that all these changes are coming.
Did you feel like you were doing your job well?
Yes, I think
So were you worried more about if other people thought you were doing your
Yeah.
job?
Yeah, I get really caught up in how other people perceive me and what I'm doing.
Has that been a problem for you?
Hasn't been as much of a problem. I mean, I think it's always bothered me a little bit, but it's kind of been bothering me more recently. Especially again with my coworkers and my friends and stuff.
You had said that you've seen a lot of therapists, and before you found one that you thought was really helpful. What was it about that last therapist that made it especially helpful?
Well, so I was seeing her whenever I was in college, and she worked with a lot of students, and I think I just felt like she understood what I was going through, and I had just moved to a different city for college, so I don't know, she just seemed to understand really well what I was.
So more of the rapport
Yeah.
than any particular technique or
Yeah, I think.
style that she was doing.
Yeah, and I'm not big on. I don't share my feelings a lot with people, so I think therapy's always been a little hard for me. But she made it pretty easy to talk to her and just listen.
Let's break down that just a little further if you don't mind. What essentially do you think made it easy to talk to?
I think she was approachable. She just seemed really kind and able to listen, and I felt like she was actually listening to what I was saying. I feel like some therapists in the past, I felt like they were almost thinking about what they were going to say next rather than listening to what I was saying, or that's what it felt like. But and then I did like the techniques that she did use. She helped me practice a lot of mindfulness, which is helpful for me, especially when I'm feeling anxious. So I did like those techniques, and she was really good at teaching those. She did them with me a lot, which was nice because I got a little break from my day when I went to therapy and did a little mindfulness. So, yeah.
Interesting. So the importance of relationships, even when it's going really well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like with your therapist or with your anxiety, that seems to be really central for you.
Yeah.
Is there, if you feel like you've always worried about,
I think it honestly probably started when I was like a teenager. I just like, I know in like middle school and high school, I like bounced friend groups a lot. Not really for any particular reason. I just like always had new friends and kind of moved around, and sometimes that was for a reason. Like, you know, a friend got mad at me, or I mean, it was middle school, so that happens. And so I think when I came to college and like had a group of friends that weren't, I knew I wasn't gonna bounce around. It was kind of weird for me to think like, okay, they're not gonna leave me, or I'm not gonna leave this group. Like, this is like a solid thing. I don't know if that's, so I guess it started back then and kind of still carries on till now.
so now, I mean, if with the new job and the move, you will be leaving them in graduation.
Yeah.
So that's so you're sort of in that familiar spot,
Yeah.
your sweet spot for anxiety.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of my, because I have had this friend group for so long, I think I am kind of worried about like, oh, well, what if we don't stay in touch like we say we're going to, and all of that. Or like, I mean, one of my most recurring thoughts that I know is not true is that like, oh, they don't like me anyway, like this will be them getting rid of me, so they won't talk to me because they don't have to anymore because I'm not there. So that's definitely something that's been coming up, and I know that it's wrong, and I know that they like me, but it just like eats away at me sometimes.
There's definitely something there. Because I mean, obviously you are the one leaving, making that choice, and you still have that fear that somehow they're relieved or they're. I wonder, have you addressed any of this with your friends, how they feel about you leaving?
Not really. I mean, when I told them I got a job, they were obviously really excited for me, and you know, we've made a lot of like promises to stay in touch and go visit each other, because some of them will be moving in the next few months as well for jobs or school or whatever. I don't know, and then when we have these conversations, you know, they'll say like, no, I love you, I'm proud of you, you know, all of those affirmations. So it's kind of hard to still think that in the back of my mind that like they don't mean it, but.
So worst case scenario, they don't keep in touch. You'll be in a new city with a new job, and what is the net effect of this relationship ending? These relationships?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would take it pretty hard. Like I said, I've had issues with depression in the past too, and I feel I'm like worried that I could fall back into a worse state. I haven't really had a lot of trouble with my depression in a while, so and because they've been like a really good support for me too. So I think I'd be worried about that. But at the same time, like I've never really had problems making friends, so I don't think it'd be like I couldn't make new friends. I think it would just be really hard for me to lose those other relationships.
That's what I was thinking. If you were in your new job and making new friends and learning a new city, realistically, how much contact would be ideally? So best case scenario, your friends here. How much time would you want them to spend in contact with you? What would be the right amount of contact from here?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, it's not like we see each other every day or anything, even though we all live pretty close. We just like text, like we have a group text, so we'll text in it once or twice a day. So I mean, I would like to keep that up. I know we've talked about obviously like when we get vacation times, obviously visiting each other if we can, but obviously that would happen like once a year. But
so really, the anxiety is that you're not going to have these sort of texting or social media contacts. It wouldn't take any amount of time more whether you were in London or Lebanon.
Yeah.
Right. So it would purely be just a lack of interest in doing things.
Yeah.
And you haven't had any indication that there's lack of interest.
No, like I said, I don't think it will happen, but I don't know why my mind keeps telling me that it will.
think these are nice people worth knowing.
Yes.
So if they didn't text you, you would have to assume the best of them, right?
Yeah.
So you're setting yourself up to say, well, they didn't text me, they must hate me. It's really an attack on them a little bit too, don't you think? I mean, these are lovely people.
Yeah.
So if they're worth knowing, they will text you. If they don't, it doesn't seem like you. This fear doesn't seem based in a realistic problem.
Yeah.
So knowing that your that this feeling is more of a, it's related to something else other than whether or not they actually call this is more about the way you feel other people value you.
Yeah.
Do you feel you have trouble with your own self-esteem? Do you have trouble valuing yourself?
Yeah, I think I used to have a lot more trouble with it. Again, when I was in middle school and high school. But so I'm better now about it, but I still definitely have a lot of issues with my own self-esteem and valuing like who I am and what I do.
When you feel undervalued or unwanted, you mentioned jumping friends groups in school because someone was mad at you. Was that because you had been ostracized from the group and they didn't want you anymore, or because you felt badly about it and chose to leave, or?
Some of both. I guess it kind of depended. There were a few times where someone was mad at me and I was ostracized, and then there were some times where I knew that I needed to not be friends with those people anymore. So I guess it was a little of both, but yeah. So.
In different cases, is the feeling the same? Do you still feel like some sort of personal responsibility, whether you decided to leave or?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, if they're mad at me, then obviously I think that I did something terribly wrong, even though most of the time, I mean, thinking back, like, it was, like, stupid middle school issues, like, it wasn't, like, any of us did anything wrong, but, at the time, it was, like, tragic, but...
Does this show up in other relationships, your relationship with your family, or your interpersonal relationships with your partners?
Not with my family as much, but with, romantic relationships, definitely. I definitely, feel that I seek a lot of, like, affirmation from romantic partners, and then I get like really hurt if I don't get it, which could be really harmful for the relationship.
What does that look like for you when you're feeling that?
Either just getting sad on my own and feeling again a little of the depression coming on, or taking it out on the partner and usually messing things up, or getting in a fight or something.
And are they about the same, or are you more likely to?
I'm probably more likely to just get sad and
internalize.
Yeah, internalize it. Yeah.
But you feel a strong connection with your family. You don't think if they don't call you, it's because they don't
Yeah.
love you anymore.
No, I'm pretty close to my parents, and I don't really feel that about them. But we've had like a bunch of like family drama recently, so I feel like it's mostly been like, and it's been focused on my siblings. So I was like kind of just the one that was good and was going to school and
It's always
not
nice.
causing the issues.
It's always a nice place to be.
Yeah, it was a nice place to be. So yeah, I mean, my parents, I don't feel much of that with them.
Your siblings?
Siblings, I'm not super close to my brother. My sister, she's 16, but yeah, I mean, she's off and on about wanting to talk to me or not, but she's in that age that I don't get like offended by it.
Have you had relationships where you didn't suffer this feeling?
I have one or two friends, I would say, that I, like, not in that friend group I was talking about, just other friends that I don't really feel that with. But I feel like I'm not as close to them. Like, they're really good friends, but I would say that, you know, we get in contact when we want to get in contact and see each other if we're nearby, but I never feel like they're not going to be there, which is a good feeling, but they're definitely not like my best friends or anything.
Let's say some of your best friends are the ones you can take for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
They're regular, steady.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I wonder if there's a connection between what it is that them not being particularly, you don't have a particular need for them, and also not having a particular anxiety around them not
Yeah.
showing up.
I think I mean, just on my own reflection about it, because I don't share my feelings as much with people, I think if I get super, super close to somebody, like a partner or my best friends, I think I'm more scared that they're gonna leave me. So friends that I'm not as close to, that I might not, share my deepest, darkest secrets with, I don't feel as
As you
scared.
build intimacy,
Yeah,
you feel they're more likely to leave you.
yeah. Which obviously gets in the way of any intimate relationship.
I can see how that would be a problem.
Yeah.
So again, it sounds a little bit like you're concerned that there's something about you that if people know,
Yeah.
they're going to like you less. Have you put any thought into what that thing is? Do you have any idea what that might be?
Not really. I know, like with partners, I've always been nervous about disclosing my depression and anxiety. I just don't want to come off as like a crazy person who is always going to be sad or really anxious or having. I used to have really bad panic attacks. I don't anymore, but thankfully I haven't had one in a long time. But I mean, I was always scared of having one on a date or something, and that obviously being like a really bad first impression. And then with friends, I don't know what it is. I think I don't know if maybe they think I'm annoying, or I don't know.
Well, again, there's no evidence to suggest that the friends or the partners think any of those things.
Yeah.
These are ideas that you're anxious about that you're generating.
Mm-hmm.
So, really need to look more into where it is you don't feel completely adequate. And I mean, it's perfectly normal. Everyone has something where they don't feel like they measure up. But it's got to be really anxiety provoking to not know what that thing is.
Yeah.
You can't fix something if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what it is. So I think it's a good idea to look at what it is that you'd like to improve, where you see room for growth.
Yeah.
And I think that will maybe that'll be a great weight off your shoulder once you're feel like you can share those things. Because I think you'd probably be surprised. It won't unless you have bodies in the crawl space somewhere. You're probably going to find whatever it is you're concerned about
Yeah.
will mean absolutely nothing to the people in your life, and you're carrying this anxiety for
Yeah.
just your own suffering. So
Yeah.
we'll see if we can't find a way to ferret that out and give that up. In the meantime, because that's a road to hoe. In
Yeah.
the meantime, you had said you were on medication previously. Was that strictly for depression, or were you taking an anxiolytic?
Yeah, it was for both.
I'd like to explain why you weren't having the panic attacks.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, and like I said, it's been under control for a few years, and I've been taking the same medication, same dosage.
So, are you interested in pursuing medication again? Because we can.
I'm still on it. So I don't know if I maybe should try an up in dosage. I had actually gone down on my dosage because I was getting side effects on the higher dosage, but so I don't know. It was a puzzle trying to find that medication, so I guess I'm nervous about trying to switch it or anything.
When was your last med check?
Well, I regularly go in just to get it refilled and checked.
Okay,
So
like 3 months.
yeah, so yeah, I guess it was a month or two ago.
Okay, because I know sometimes you go to see the psychiatrist and it's in and out.
Yeah,
Did you have a chance to talk to him about your?
not really. No. I was not really thinking about that at the moment. It was a quick visit, and I just needed my refill.
Sometimes I feel like the visits to the psychiatrist, because they're so, you need to rehearse what you're going to say to them. You need to be ready for them. And so I have these concerns. I've been stable on this medication for
Yeah.
X amount of time, and now I feel like it's just not hitting the mark anymore. I'm having X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And, you know, then you have their attention, because otherwise they'll ask you, they may ask you the wrong question. You will use your entire 15 minutes not
Yeah.
getting your medication adjusted. So before your next minute, or if you feel, if it's really bothering you, maybe you want to go in early.
I think I actually have one scheduled in a few weeks, so I think that'll be okay.
Good to have a plan.
Yeah.
So want to make a plan for how you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them,
Yeah.
just to make sure you get your needs addressed. Because sometimes they're just so hard to, you know, they're intimidating, or come in, sit down, and so
Yeah.
you may change the medication entirely,
Yeah.
which is of course anxiety provoking.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I had tried a couple different things, but I was getting bad side effects from most of them, so it was quite a puzzle to find this one. So I'm kind of nervous about switching, but I know that it could be good if I find something else that works better.
If this one's no longer doing the job,
Yeah.
then yes, it's certainly anxiety provoking, but better to go through that and find one that is working than to
Yeah.
continue with something that's not. And if having a higher dosage, make sure you know, obviously he's someone who did it. If the higher dosage wasn't an option, then
Yeah.
switching might be your best bet.
Yeah.
Oh, we're good.
Okay. All right.
Just gonna end right there.
Bye.
But, yeah.
Oh, perfect.